In country music, the Ryman is the most beloved venue.
And artists from the get-go want to come and play here.
There is something there that is just spiritual.
It is a level of beauty that you can't find in many rooms.
You walk out and you just think about all of your heroes.
It's the mother church of country music.
The Ryman Auditorium is so historically important in Nashville because without it, we wouldn't really have country music as we know it.
So we opened as a tabernacle in 1892 as a Union Gospel Tabernacle. Tom Ryman, namesake of our building, he wanted it to be a religious center. It was meant to be an imposing structure that, would shake the soul of any sinner who should happen upon it. It was always important to the people of the city, and it was always important to those who appeared here.
I think that they knew that it was one of those things that it was going to last forever. This was actually one of the back side of the building when it was opened. All the brick was made on site, and all the mortar was made on site in the late 1800s. So as this building was built, the brick mason was just going along, and the brick was still warm, but it cooled with his handprint right there as he was pushing it in line to go across the wall. And there's a thumbprint a little ways down the road here, where they pushed that one in line and just kept on trucking it.
The problem was the revenue generated by these revivals that we were housing wasn't going to be enough to pay off the debt. So the board quickly realized they needed to allow secular events in the building.
You go from John Philip Sousa to Harry Houdini to Teddy Roosevelt.
Everyone from Katharine Hepburn, Ethel Barrymore, these top-tier actors and actresses, and just the list goes on and on and on.
Everyone will have some fun at the Grand Ole Opry.
From 1943 to 1974, the Opry comes here. One of the biggest misconceptions is this is the original home of the Grand Ole Opry. We were actually the 5th home of the Grand Ole Opry.
Basically, they kept getting kicked out of venues.
The Opry itself is a radio program, so the Opry can play anywhere.
So Harry Stone, who was WSM's general manager at the time, really had only one other option, which was here at the Ryman. So our first general manager, her name was Lula Naff, is famous for her love of highbrow entertainment. She liked operas, ballet. And so they were convinced that when they were going to ask Lula, she was going to turn him away. She didn't want this hillbilly music, coming down to her beloved tabernacle or concert venue here. And he comes down and meets with Lula, and surprisingly, she said, "Yeah, we will rent the Ryman to you for $100 a night."
It is looked at as the mecca of everything that's going to happen in country music. If you wanted to make it in country music, you needed to come here and be on the Opry and perform at the Ryman.
But the Ryman was never a building that was designed for the kind of show that the Opry wanted to put on. Within the first 10 or 15 years that they were at the Ryman, the Opry was looking for a new home.
There was a lot to do to bring the building up to snuff, and they wanted to get a comfortable new venue that was made just for the show.
The last performance of the Opry at the Ryman took place on Friday, March 15th, 1974. And on the bill that night was Johnny Cash. And Johnny debuts these 2 new songs, and the first one is Ragged Old Flag, and it gets a great response. The second one is a song called The Man in Black. And of course, we all know him as the Man in Black. And it's a song that speaks to sticking up for the forgotten and the downtrodden and those who are have-nots. And that very next night, here's the Opry moving into its brand spanking new place. And I just think it's so cool that the night before, the Man in Black sang The Man in Black.
And to turn it into something. Probably more than any single person, Emmylou Harris is responsible for there still being a Ryman Auditorium. Because Emmy did a live album there when the Ryman was really almost at its lowest.
There was not much of a dressing room, a tiny little place, and the paint was peeling, and it was pretty funky.
It was kind of condemned. Windows were broken, bird poop was all over the place. But I worked with Emmy doing sound, so I flew to Nashville, and we did a record here with her band, the Nash Ramblers.
I needed to make another record, and I decided I wanted to do a live record. I mean, we couldn't even have a full audience.
And they performed on that stage. It's the first time there had been a performance like that in years.
But the Ryman brings out the best in the audience because they were great audiences, and so we were able to do a live record here.
I mean, we won a Grammy for that record. That was pretty neat, you know, to get a pat on the back for a live show like that. There was just a little tiny side dressing room back here. Like, there was nothing in there but like a little chair and a couch. That hallway wasn't there. And the ceiling, you could see big holes in the wood. And then we were set up down here, and I was set up right here. And, I was set up here, and Al Perkins was set up here. Emmy, Sam, Roy Husky, and our drummer back there. We were set up pretty tight, so we were pretty close together up here.
I just wanted to sing and get a good take, and we had 3 nights, and there were 200 people just in the front here, I guess, because no one could sit in the balcony. It was not structurally sound.
Emmylou Harris and the Nash Ramblers recording their live album there was part of what showed everyone just how much value there was to that space.
It focused attention on, oh yeah, we used to make music here, and maybe we could make it again.
That led directly to the restoration efforts and bringing it back as a concert venue.
Why would anyone ever consider tearing it down? There's not enough money in the world that you should be able to pay for a spot like that. That happened now. We talk about riots and protests. You'll see a bunch of dudes in cowboy hats and whatever, and girls just like down there arm in arm to protect that place, because we understand as artists how important not only is the Ryman to us, but how important it is to our community.
You know, when you're in the moment, you're so busy trying to get your parts right and figure out what's going on that it wasn't until looking back that I realized how important and what a great couple of nights the Live at the Ryman record really was.
Just grateful to have the chance to be able to make music anywhere, but then when it happens to be the Ryman, it doesn't get much better than that.
Stovall here. What do Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas have in common? They're all representing country music on the next Opry Live with Joe Nichols, Midland, Lainey Wilson, and Cody Johnson. Opry Live, Saturday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Natalie Stovall here. Happy Hour just got happier. At Sonic, drinks and slushes are always half price in the app. So tap your Sonic app and get a half price drink or slush. Then join us for country music at the Opry. Opry Live, Saturday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Ice cream. Boom. Sour Patch Kids bits. Boom. A slush.
Take a bite, and then we'll all harmonize.
Okay, ready?
Sonic Sour Patch Kids slush float. Sign me up.
I think we're a girl group now.
Sign me up.
Last night was so amazing.
Hell yeah, it was. What's up, Bruce? You going for round number 2? You know it.
Get your first month free at Chew.com.
At GoToBank, we're for the go-to people in life. That's why we created the ultimate banking app. Easy to use and no monthly fees with direct deposit.
Do I get free ATMs?
Pay my bills? Yes and yes. It's mobile banking at its best. Open an account at GoToBank.com.
Why is it so dark in here?
Well, I applied for a credit card and I'm in the dark about whether I'll get approved.
Credit Karma lets you see your chances of getting approved for cards before you apply.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh.
PB&J.
Credit Karma. Download the free app now.
I wanted to try something new. I wanted to spend more time talking and getting to know someone instead of searching. So I called Lava Life, and I met some really down-to-earth, great guys. We just clicked, you know? It was exactly what I was looking for, and I'm so glad I did. You should call too. So call Lava Life now.
Try it free. Call 1-877-300-5282 now.
Come on. Come on. So, this is the Ryman Auditorium. The first time I came to the Ryman, I watched up from the balcony. And there's like a certain magic watching a show from the balcony because you can just take it all in. You see the stained glass windows and you see all of the church pews. You feel this room is like a living room.
The Ryman's also great because you're sitting on the same pews. These are the original pews, 1897 in the balcony, 1895 on the first floor. They're solid oak Indiana pews made in Richmond, Indiana, brought down on a steamship.
Okay, remember L for Lindsay, row L. And there's just like a perspective from balcony seats that I love because it's like the bird's eye view. You know, you kind of get to watch and take it all in.
There's not a bad place in the house from the second step up till about where the light stage and the dark stage meet. There's an invisible audio pocket. And we've actually had performers kill the audio so that the room actually picks up the vocals.
Oh, my brother, take this warning. Don't let... Hear that? Don't let old Satan hold your hand. It just comes back at you. But it's not big. It's not big and washy. It just comes back at you.
I mean, when you listen to this room, like even from up here, oh, like it reverberates. It's such a special venue.
It lets you breathe. It gives you back what you're putting out. The sound reflects. Loretta Lynn said it's a great voice launcher.
It's just very easy to mix that room. Maybe it's ordained by the Holy Spirit or something.
When they renovated the building, they knew they needed to have adequate dressing room space. And so they essentially built 2 4-story buildings on either side of the stage and made our backstage area.
There's 3 different levels of dressing rooms at the Ryman. So if you're a new act, you're always on the 3rd level. You're hiking up the stairs with your gear. You're always going up to the top, which is fine. One time I did get the bottom level. That's when I know I was like, all right, I'm pretty cool right now.
My favorite dressing room, my first dressing room, the women of country music. Every time I walk into this room with this makeup counter, it's so captivating.
Every room has its own special name. And, you know, in these rooms, there's all these incredible pictures of artists that have played there over the years throughout history.
Love that dressing room. Now, this door is the stage door. So oftentimes when, you know, you're playing the Ryman and you'll come in the alley. I wonder if I can show you this. I hope an alarm won't ring. So you walk up these steps, and there have been times where fans will know that you're coming to the Opry, so fans will be lining the alley. And this is like across the alley from Tootsie's. I mean, we're right downtown Nashville.
The wings are crowded with people watching the show from the side of the stage in full view of the audience.
Backstage is pretty tight. Somebody can be on stage, and you just walk right back behind the curtain as they're performing, and God help you if that curtain falls, because you're there. You're on stage with everybody.
We've had 3 stages in our history, and this would be the 3rd one. And it was put in 2012. That being said, if you look at the front 3 feet, those are the best boards from the 51 stage, which was our 2nd stage at the time. Those are the same boards that, as I always say, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Elvis Presley, Patsy Cline, Louis Armstrong, all the greats stood on those boards.
So here we are, the entrance from stage right. I have stood in this doorway so many times, ready to go on stage. It's like the amazing pressure almost builds as you're walking out to the center of the stage. There's such a power in this space that when you step into it, it's like a weight, like a really good weight, a really good, beautiful weight, but it's like, whew. So there's a spot at the front of the Ryman stage where you can kind of hear it, like if I step back here, it's okay, you're in a reverberous room, and then if you step here, it's like the sweet spot. It's a natural echo. Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. This is like where adrenaline starts pumping. You see the 1892 Ryman Auditorium sign and you're like, all right, the history and the stories and the memories that have been made on this stage, I'm now a part of that. It just means so much to me. This is work for me. Like, how crazy is it that I get to walk out on stage in the Ryman and entertain people and share songs that I've written from my heart, and that's my job. Like, it's just crazy.
I think you've been under a lot of pressure these last couple months, Walt. I think it's clouded your judgment.
Dad, you have a major civil suit pending. Me representing you confirms everything they're accusing you of.
I should do this.
Your personal information.
Sometimes it's okay to have our heads in the clouds. Then we can see what's coming. This is the team you can rely on to make your plans weatherproof. Forewarn Weather. Protecting you when it matters most. Helping you prepare for what tomorrow brings.
We are ready.
Steve Templeton and the Forewarn Weather team.
Yeah, we're watching out for you.
Home, home, home. A roof over our heads to keep us dry. The rain and the snow, heat and the cold. Home, home, sweet home. Home, home, sweet home.
Blood clots can happen to anyone. Up to 900,000 people in the United States are affected by blood clots each year, and 100,000 die from them. Blood clots don't discriminate. You or a loved one could be at risk right now. The good news is blood clots can be prevented. Knowing the risks and symptoms are key. On average, 1 person in the United States dies of a blood clot every 6 minutes. Don't let that be you or someone you know. Learn more at stoptheclot.org/spread the word.
Oh, yeah, dude, that doesn't look good. I know what to do. I'm going to castnetusa.com. I can apply in minutes, and if approved, I can have the money as soon as the same business day.
Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need.
Good nights lead to great mornings. Get generic Viagra shipped discreetly to your door at RexMD.com. Your consultation is free. There's no copays, no doctor office visits, and your shipping is always free. Visit RexMD.com right now.
If you don't have final expense insurance, this message is for you.
Life Care provides valuable whole life insurance to help cover final expenses, medical bills, burial costs, and unpaid debt. A final expense insurance policy is fast, easy, affordable life insurance available to anyone between the ages of 50 and 80. No medical exams, no lengthy questionnaires, and no waiting period. To find out how you can get final expense insurance with a guaranteed lifetime rate lock, call 1-800-919-8408.
Circle Network, country 24/7.
As you approach the Ryman, you see three statues. You see Bill Monroe, you see Loretta Lynn, you see Jimmy Dickens. They remind you that this is a place of history. So by the time you actually get on the stage, it's impossible to not think of everything that has happened there.
You do get the Ryman jitters because it's a very important venue. You feel it, there's an energy in the room, but the second you walk out there and you play your first note, it all goes away.
Oh yeah, you get the Ryman jitters, yeah.
And so you're watching somebody else just crush it out there, and you're like, I gotta follow that? Great.
Interesting enough, Garth Brooks, who sells out stadiums, is absolutely terrified to even step foot in this place. About 7 years ago, Loretta Lynn asked him, can you come play acoustic guitar for one song? And he politely declined, hung up the phone, and his wife, Tricia, had said, call her back and say yes and get over this already, and he did, but he was nervous.
I played this stage where Garth Brooks was a surprise at a show, and he walks out on stage. People lose their mind. They're losing their mind. I mean, it's Garth Brooks who's surprised everybody at the Ryman, and I needed to walk out after Garth Brooks. And I'm like, okay, no pressure, no pressure, no pressure.
It's like Carnegie Hall. It's country's Carnegie Hall. And you really want to do well when you step out on that stage.
I have never walked into that building and ever took it for granted. Every time I play the Ryman, I always pretend I'm bigger than I am. I always pretend like I'm the biggest star on the planet. No one else is singing on this stage at this moment, so I am the guy. I'm gonna suck this all in.
I was 10 years old when I first set foot on the Ryman stage, and that's thanks to my banjo teacher, Larry Wallace. Larry is a 10-year veteran of the Sunny Mountain Boys. That's Jimmy Martin's band, Jimmy Martin being the king of bluegrass, and in my humble opinion, the most colorful character we've ever had in bluegrass music. When I was there to see my banjo teacher play with the king of bluegrass, my banjo teacher said, play Will the Circle Be Unbroken for him. When I got done playing the song, Jimmy said, well, if you want, you can come play that song with us tonight. That's what we're gonna play in the encore. And if you look at pictures of me playing that night, I don't look like I'm having fun. I got a very serious look on my face. I was having a blast. I was just holding on very tight to this roller coaster ride that was playing the Mother Church for the first time.
I'm Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, and I'm here with my wonderful wife of almost 50 years, Janet, and our puppies.
Over the years, we've learned to make a marriage work, you need love.
Respect.
And most importantly,
a good night's sleep.
Mike had real difficulty getting to sleep and staying asleep until he started taking Relaxium Sleep.
For years now, we both fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed every morning. It's made life a whole lot better. And since Relaxium Sleep's formula is so safe and effective, there's no issue how often we take it. Clinically proven Relaxium Sleep's triple action formula was developed by renowned neurologist and sleep expert Dr. Eric Ciliberti to regulate your natural sleep cycle, relax your body, and calm the mind for better sleep through the whole night. We love the sleep that we're getting with Relaxium Sleep.
And we continue to recommend it to family and friends who tell us how it's changed their life.
Relaxium is so confident that it'll work for you, they're going to give you a bottle of Relaxium Sleep absolutely risk-free for 30 days.
After being a Relaxium customer for at least 3 years now, because I'm getting a better night's sleep, it's making everything else about my life more enjoyable.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling alert, like I've had the best night's sleep.
With Relaxium Sleep, I'm so happy I'm going to use the product forever, for life.
Change your sleep tonight so you can change your life tomorrow with Relaxium Sleep.
Call now. Relaxium is giving away 1,000 bottles of clinically proven Relaxium Sleep today. Fall asleep, stay asleep, wake refreshed.
Call today for your 30-day risk-free trial and 100% money-back guarantee. Relaxium Sleep doesn't need a prescription, is 100% drug-free, and is non-habit forming. Call 800-418-2931, 800-418-2931.
Trust Unite to Relaxium Sleep.
So one thing I love about playing shows at the Ryman is oftentimes Hat Show Prints makes these one-of-a-kind special posters for your show. And they've been doing this for years. And so you can see like all of these show posters that are signed from everybody from Bruce Springsteen to Coldplay, Foo Fighters, Bob Dylan, Casey, Paul Simon, Tom Jones.
They're made right here in Nashville, Tennessee at the Country Music Hall of Fame. They just have a really great history that ties in with the Ryman's history. It's a poster commemorating the concert. So you've got the name of the artist, the date, and it says Ryman, Nashville, Tennessee.
If Nashville is the Disney World to country music, then we're the Magic Kingdom because of the performers and the performances that have been here.
Roger Daltrey from The Who declared this the best place he's ever played.
Wayne Newton, certainly king of Las Vegas, played a show here. Stopped his show, sent the band off stage, pulled out his chair, sat down and played banjo for 5 songs.
Carole King, the living room tour that she did, I mean, you could hear a pin drop.
Wu-Tang Clan was one of my favorite events ever, just because it was so opposite of what everyone's perception of the Ryman is.
The Jonas Brothers was really fun, but that's not the one I want to say. Because I'm over the age of 12.
The Ryman will always be the Ryman, and it will always be here. This is the most important building when it comes to country music. This is the stage that made Nashville. I just don't know if Nashville would ever be the same without the Ryman, and I don't think anyone would ever want to contemplate Nashville without the Ryman, which is nice.
There are certain places that are just revered for their sound and for their history.
May the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a